listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their New York steaks, the king of all those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Best you'll probably have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Of course, they get a nice round of applause. Yes! All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and our independents from coast to coast. Everybody also watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television. Thanks for joining us, as well as in Hotel TV from coast to coast in all Nielsen-rated markets. And everybody on Facebook. Yes, on Chicago Food Favorites. Why do we promote it? Because we can. Folks, we are here with a very special guest from the top. He's a baseball guru, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself. Go ahead and take a minute and tell everybody about yourself.
Well, Sal, it's great to be with you. I appreciate you having me on. Spent a lifetime in baseball, that's for sure. Starting out as a teenager and working for Tommy Lasorda in the minor leagues, and eventually graduating on to becoming a major league equipment manager for a couple decades with the Texas Rangers. I've also been blessed with 4 sons, terrific kids. I've been very, very lucky and fortunate. I've got one that's a lawyer here in Chicago, but the other 3 are all executives in Major League Baseball. The family tradition of the love of the game continues on with them. I've had a great baseball life. I love the game. My dad and Mr. Lasorda were very close friends, which was my break. And Tommy decided to take me along when he was a minor league manager, allowed me to run his clubhouse, and allowed me to, learn a lot about not only baseball but about life, because he was a terrific guy. I've just put out a book recently called Lasorda University. It's about the summer of 1968 in Ogden, Utah, where Tommy was the manager of a pretty good rookie league club of players that had just signed, which included Steve Garvey, Bobby Valentine, Billy Buckner, Tom Paciorek, and a number of other players that ended up moving on to play in the big league. So it was an impactful time for me. It was an impactful time for those young players, and it was a great summer in 1968 that we all spent with Tommy. So it's been a lifetime of baseball for me. I love it. I'm still connected to it, obviously, through my boys. I retired a number of years ago, but I live vicariously through their baseball lives. So it's what I love.
That's great stuff. And the stories. And folks, you wonder, have you ever seen Zack around? Well, you probably have. You just don't recall. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but he's been in the thick of so much. Historically, the stories can go on and on and on, and these are cool stories. That's one of the cool things about this show, Zack. I let people talk about whatever the hell they want to, as long as they don't use the bad words, right? But
yes.
It's what's cool is that I let you talk. I let people just go on and ramble. I don't care. Go all the way to the commercial break. Of course, you got to watch for my cues for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, right? But at the end of the day, when somebody invites somebody onto a program, they should let them speak instead of wanting to hear themselves. So that's why I say introduce yourself. And I know the stories are mountainous, but they're very interesting too.
Well, I've had people say, you spent so many years in baseball. Why did you just write about 3 months from a season that was, 55 years ago? And my only answer to that would be, nobody cares about my 50 years in baseball and, the gossip that I could probably tell. But they might care about an inspiring story of a man that just was a terrific motivator and had such an impact, not only on the stars of the team and the guys that moved on to the big leagues, but had such an impact on the guys that didn't make it, the guys that got released after 3 months. And that was their moment in the sun, those 3 months in the minor leagues. And they got released, they went home, they got jobs, they had families, and they lived a normal life out of the baseball world. So, when I decided to write this book, I said, well, I'm going to write it about the great Tommy Lasorda, obviously, and the stories, as you say, are mountainous for the things he used to do to motivate his guys. But I also wrote it for those guys that went home after those 3 months and figured that it was over. And, some even said to me, well, I thought my baseball time was wasted until your book came out. And it revived, the feeling in me, in those players that, it wasn't a waste. It was 3 months that will forever be stamped in their lives. And in interviewing a number of these guys for the book, even though they were from different parts of the country, and some spoke with a southern accent and some spoke with a northern accent, and the way they described and told their stories were different, but it was all the same subject. And that subject was Tommy and what he meant to them, and how they carried a lot of the things that he taught them over those 3 months throughout their life and in their jobs, no matter what it was. Some became coaches. We had a commercial fisherman. We had an insurance salesman. And we had guys that went on to do work at the railroad, do all sorts of different things in their lives. But the one common denominator they all had was the influence of Tommy Lasorda. And that's why I felt, sticking to the summer of '68, which again was an impactful summer for a lot of us, was the best way for me to write a book at this point in time anyway.
Yeah. You know what, Zach, that's a great approach because, look, you can, I suppose, capture an entire lifetime in an encyclopedia of books, but to give a snapshot of a great group at a great moment, maybe that moment lasts for 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months, it doesn't matter. The reality is, if you give somebody a snapshot, they can see it from your perspective on the greatness that was in front of you on and off the field over the term of life as well. So you've got this group of people for a short time impacted by Tommy. I mean, Tommy, the tank commander of managers, as I see it. But at the end of the day, you see the impact that they had on the lives of millions over the duration of their lives.
Absolutely. No question about it. He was the greatest motivator, Sal, of anybody I've ever seen. It didn't matter whether you're younger or older. He motivated those veteran players in 1988 when they won the World Series with a subpar ball club, the same way that he motivated those youngsters in 1968, 20 years earlier. So his motivational skills were off the charts, and what he did for all those players was just terrific. And he was, in the end, he was the global face of baseball. He was known in the Latin American countries, in Japan, really all over the world. And I think the highlight or the crowning point of his career was coming out of retirement to manage the Olympic team in Sydney and bringing home the gold for his country.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm here in our last minute of the segment. Look, folks, we haven't even scratched the surface of Zack's background. But I'll tell you what, this is one of those guys where you're like, you know what? I can listen to this guy for a really long time because the stories are good. They're legit. He's had the inside everything because he's been on the inside of it since he was just a little boy. And at the end of the day, what do we have? We have a culmination of great stories, great experiences, and a real treat for our audience. They don't get this kind of a look on the inside of really the inner workings from the clubhouse. I mean, you see it on TV. Okay, you'll see it in the stands, whatever. But folks, when you get a chance to get behind the closed doors of the clubhouse and see or hear what's really going on, it's a very different experience. It really is. So, Zack, appreciate you coming on. And, of course, you're going to come back with us, and you're going to be with us for this show. So, folks, don't go anywhere. You know, you're in for a real treat because I'm sure he may have a story or two tucked away that he didn't even tell me about. I'm sure he has a lot of them. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a good time with this. And I know this is a very strange thing for people to see this hat on me. And by the way, folks, in case you're wondering, this hat was from Reggie Jackson back around 1979, 1980 is when this Angels hat was around. And it was a special edition hat. Nobody has seen this on me. And this is the first time I've ever worn it. I've had it for over 40 years. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, Zack, we're going to be back here with you in just a few. And everybody else, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041. Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today. Don't let your retirement accounts get caught off guard by trade and tariff wars. Learn why a Genesis Gold IRA is the number one choice for thousands of Americans across the nation. 800-709-4423. 800-709-4423. 800-709-4423. That's 800-709-4423.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast, but those are stored on the podcast platform, whether it's Apple or iHeart or Spotify, or pick your favorite one. We're everywhere, folks. Can't get away from us. While you're at thesportscircus.com, make sure you check out the partners page. One of those partners that's been with us for a very long time is our good friend Bones down at Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And of course, if you can't get down there to have one of those Italian beefs, no problem. Go to alsbeef.com and you can pick up your tub of Italian beef there, or you can go to goldbelly.com. That's goldbelly.com, and just type in Al's Beef and go ahead and pick some up there. Yes! Boy, that's good stuff. All right, welcome back to everybody, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHK. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else that may be listening up and down the West Coast, from San Diego up to Seattle on Pick Your Favorite Radio Station there, or watching on television, hell, down in Tampa or Atlanta or Cincinnati. You can't get away from us, folks. Big hello to our friends over in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM and WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, over in Auburn, Alabama, and everybody else on radio, TV. You know who you are. And, of course, on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Thanks for joining us, as well as in Hotel TV. All right, back here with Zack Minasian. And so Zack is our baseball guru guest today. And the guy's got a lot of stories, folks. And he's got some cool pictures behind him, too. Zack, tell everybody about the pictures and the jersey and whatnot you have behind you.
Well, you know, I've collected a lot of things, Sal, over the years, but very few of the pieces really meant a lot to me. I mean, in the end, some of it was just stuff, you know. So what I tried to do was, pick out a few things that really had some meaning to me and were a few of my favorites. And behind me, I've got a bat that Ken Griffey Jr. gave me when I was with Texas. And it's one of the few that Louisville made that rather than having his name inscribed, he was a Louisville client, but rather than his name being inscribed on the bat, it just says the kid. And those were a limited number of those were made. I don't know how many people out there have one, but I'm fortunate enough to have one of those. And Junior was one of my favorites. And so obviously I appreciated the gift, and it's one of the pieces of memorabilia that I cherish. Below that is a picture of Bo Jackson, who was absolutely amazing, the greatest athlete I've ever seen, not only skills-wise, but stature-wise, just a beast. He would walk around my clubhouse as a visitor. I ran the visiting clubhouse in Texas for a while, and he would walk around the clubhouse with a football tucked under his arm, offering $1,000 to any of his teammates that could take the football away from him. And it never happened. So he was an awesome guy, an awesome player. I think we all got robbed as fans that we didn't get to see his career really play out. But in that particular picture, it was taken in spring training, and my son Perry, who is now the general manager of the Angels, was visiting that spring, and he bat boyed for me, and he helped in the clubhouse. And Bo had known him from seeing him in Texas, and Bo got off the bus that day, and the first person he saw about 10 feet away from him was Perry standing there. He was in his uniform, and he was a little guy back then, probably, 10 or 11 years old. And Bo saw him, and Bo took off running and tackled him. And so the photograph is on the concourse there of the stadium. Bo is sitting on top of Perry, and all you see are Perry's little legs sticking out from underneath Bo, and he inscribed the picture, "Hey, meathead, don't slip up, or you're going to get more of the same." So it's a terrific picture. It's one of my favorites, and again, that's why it's up on my wall. So,
wow.
But I got a lot of cool things. I've got Joe DiMaggio played in an old timers game in Texas one year, and was kind enough to sign a picture to me, which is an action picture of him swinging a bat on deck, probably back in the 40s in New York. It's just a beautiful photograph. So he's up there. I got a picture of Willie Mays, who I admired growing up as a youngster. I've got one that when Nolan threw his 6th no-hitter, Perry again bat boyed that game, and I've got the lineup card for that game and a photograph and the headline from the San Francisco paper. So again, a piece of memorabilia that has a lot of meaning for me anyway. So I've just been so fortunate. You know, that old thing, baseball's been very, very good to me, you know, and all that. It's been very good to me. It's offered me and my family, you know, the opportunity to go to the White House and meet the president and have VIPs and celebrities come through the clubhouse, you know, on a regular basis. And traveling was, you know, terrific. So it just, you know, I've been blessed and so fortunate that I ended up in the game and was able to experience all these wonderful things.
You know, the stories from just being in the clubhouse are one thing, but the stories you just mentioned about Perry with Bo Jackson, me personally, I don't know of a better two-sport athlete. I think Bo Jackson, arguably the best athlete I've ever seen, period. This dude in football had breakaway speed that only one other person I've ever seen with that kind of speed as a kid. I think of Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers had that ridiculous breakaway speed, but the strength and size, and I mean, that guy is a mountain of a man, but they just completely ripped in a time where you didn't see that.
Yeah.
Not like that. Yeah. You know what was interesting? It was a couple of years ago, I had Herschel Walker on the show, and he and Bo are business partners in a place right across the street from my friend's restaurant in Auburn, Alabama. And and Bo said, "You know what? Herschel goes, you get that Bo Jackson onto a field, and I can still take him in a straight race. We're going to run down the street, and I'll still beat him. I'll still beat his you-know-what." But funny stuff. I mean, those guys, they work together, obviously, whatever.
Sure.
But there's that rivalry stays, whether it's baseball, football, basketball. Once you're a world-class athlete, you're a world-class athlete. But once you're an athlete, you're an athlete. Think about that. Whether you're an equipment manager or whatever, whether you're a backup to the backup to the backup, it doesn't matter. You just have that in you. And as a professional athlete, you have that killer instinct because you're supposed to eat, sleep, and think that sport. Now, if you don't, you're not going to play it professionally. That's for darn sure.
Right. I agree 100%. I think that athletes of their stature, Herschel and Bo, and what is probably most prominent in their makeup is their competitive nature. You know, they want to be the best. They you know, they want to be the best. And I learned that from Tommy also. Tommy was a big proponent of believing in yourself and believing that you were the best and working hard and doing the best you could do. And I remember being a clubhouse guy and thinking, and I've said it to my wife, who kind of disagreed with me on it, but, you know, I want to be the best. I want to be the best clubhouse guy in baseball. It was that simple. You know, I want players around the league to say, hey, we've been in Zack's clubhouse and it's the best. I got Bo Jackson on tape saying that my clubhouse is the Taj Mahal of all clubhouses. So, you know, that's what I strive for. And that was instilled in me by Tommy.
You know what? And I will say this in our last minute of the segment. There is something to be said about pride of ownership in your job. I don't care if you're a ditch digger, you're a chef, you're the president, whatever. There's some pride of ownership involved there. And at least it seems like it's almost a lost art in today's time. You want to be the best. You strive to be the best. When I worked at the grocery store, I worked at Jewel at 438 West Madison in Oak Park. I still got the name in my head, the address. You wanted to be the best bagger. And even when all the overstock, I wanted to be the fastest when it came to putting everything back. I just wanted to be the best in everything that I did, and I couldn't stand losing. And I still can't stand losing today. Take 15 seconds, talk about that, and then we're going to go to break.
Well, I think that's very true. I mean, that's what makes you the best, is when you give the maximum effort and that you want to be the best. And so that's how you perform. And I've been asked to speak to the young clubhouse guys next year at the winter meetings. And I think that's going to be the crux of my talk. Be the best you can be. Be proud of what you do, and strive for people to say he's the best.
Yeah, and I think that is a great point. And if you're going to be a speaker or whatever, or a motivational, motivational speaker to a group, whatever it is. Look, folks, if you're not going to do your best, get the hell out of the way, because somebody else is there right behind you that's going to take that job, and they're going to prove that they are the best. And we're going to be back here in a few minutes with Zack Minasian here on the Sports Circus, baseball guru, that is. Lots of fun coming. Yeah. Don't go anywhere. Great stories.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down:
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment is brought to you by our baseball guru guest and a book that he has written, and here to tell you all about it is Zack Minasian.
Hey, Sal. Thanks for having me, buddy. Enjoying it. The book is doing well, available on Amazon. It's got a number of, it's a feel-good book. There's no, dirty language. There's not a lot of stuff in it that, that are offensive. We try to tell good stories that have a moral to them, which a lot of things Tommy did, they always had an ulterior meaning or motive. And he was just terrific at that. He did a lot of that along the way, not only in the minor leagues, not only in Ogden, but obviously when he became the big league manager for the Dodgers. But that summer of '68 is what the book's all about. It's a feel-good story. I interviewed and found 21 players out of the 36 that originally reported to Ogden. 7 had passed away. 6 had gone to the big leagues. So I had to find like 23 or 24 of the players. We ended up finding 21 of them. And these were guys that I had not spoken to in, almost 55 years. So interviewing them was just a terrific thing for me. It took me down memory lane and back in time, and just their comments and their recollections of Tommy and Ogden were terrific. So I would encourage your listeners out there, if you want a fun read, something to read on the airplane or whatever, pick up a copy of Lasorda University, and I know you'll enjoy it. But it's loaded with a lot of Tommy stories, and like I say, he was a great motivator. I'll tell you a quick one about the Ogden club that year. We kept getting in fights with the opposing team on a weekly basis. Now, Tommy would have to send in reports to L.A., explaining how the team was doing, what we did that week, and so on and so forth. But every report he would send back would end up describing a fight with the opposition. So Peter O'Malley, the son of Walter O'Malley at the time, was the minor league director. And he got some concern when he started reading these reports weekly and seeing all these fights we were getting into. So he made a special trip to Ogden, and he wanted to sit down with Tommy and talk to him about why the ball club was getting in so many fights. So they had that meeting, and they sat down and they started talking, and Peter asked Tommy, he said, "Tommy, why the fighting? It has to stop." He said, "When the team starts fighting out there, what do you do?" And he said, "Well, I run out onto the field and I'm yelling, break it up, break it up, break it up." And Peter looked at him and said, "Well, do they break it up?" And he said, "No, they damn better well not break it up. If they're not out on that field for that fight, it's a $25 fine." And back then, when the player was making $500 a month, that was a big fine. So you tried to avoid that fine, and if a fight started, you got off that bench quickly. So he told Peter we lead the league in hits, runs, and police escorts, because we got escorted out of every visiting town we were in by the police after the fight. So but that was an example. There was an example of the way that Tommy brought his ball club together. And as barbaric as it sounds, that fighting sounds so violent, but to Tommy, that was a way to motivate his club, to mold them as a team. If they were going to play together, if they were going to fight together, they were going to win together. And so, that was his theory, and that never left him through his whole career.
That's incredible. And those are the kind of stories, that is the kind, let me tell you something, folks. If you're going to battle with your team, right? Because that's really what you're doing every time you step on that field. When you sit in the clubhouse, when you're out there at practice, yes, actually teams do practice once in a while these days, but the reality is you're in there tooth and nail with them, period. Those are your brothers, and you're going to defend them. You may fight with your brothers, but you're going to fight for your brothers as well. And if you're not out there fighting for your brothers, and if you're grabbing splinters out of your ass, sitting on a bench, you got a problem. Everyone's going to look at you like, well, who the hell are you? How come you're not out there throwing blows with everybody else too? Because the balance of the team is.
That's right. Absolutely right. And it worked. It worked, and you knew it worked because the team just got closer and closer and closer. And by the end of the 3 months, when you're trying to win a pennant, just like you would in the major leagues, you were so bonded, it was hard for you not to win because everybody was watching everybody's back. So
right.
His motivational tactics were off the charts. They were, he wanted to, one of his, and I thought this was ingenious, but he said, before the season started, he came to me and he said, we got to do something about curfew. He said, I don't want to start knocking on doors and doing bed checks. So we've got to come up with a different way to catch these guys that are out after curfew. And he was really constantly drumming into their heads, take care of your bodies, take care of your mind, get your rest, think baseball, play baseball, have it paramount in your life. But the most important thing was to take care of yourself. And in doing that, staying out after curfew was not a good idea. So instead of banging on the doors and doing bed checks every night, what do you think he did? He said, go get a dozen balls and bring them home with you from the ballpark tonight. You and I are going to go talk to the elevator operator. Now, the hotel we stayed in had a guy that ran the elevator. He turned the wheel, and the elevator went up and down, and he would stop on the floors. So Tommy had me bring the dozen balls in, and we had a meeting with the night elevator operator. And Tommy proceeded to ask him if he would do him one favor. He said, I'm going to leave you these balls. You're going to have a new ball every night in your elevator. And if a player comes in after midnight, I want you to have him, ask him for his autograph, and have him sign one of these balls. So he said, can you do that? And the elevator operator said, sure, Tommy, no problem. So every night when we were at home, I made sure that this man had a pearl baseball and a pen, and he would ask anybody that came in after midnight to sign the ball, which they were happy to do. And excuse me, I would collect the ball the next day, bring it to the clubhouse, give it to Tommy in his office, and he would come out, and every name that was on there, he went around the room and fined them $10 each. $10 from you, $10 from you. And they're in shock. They're, hey, you didn't knock on my door, you didn't check my room. How do you know that I was out, number one, and that I came in late? We went the whole season, 3 months, with not one player figuring out that the elevator operator was busting them for curfew every night they were out. And the kitty grew quickly, believe me. That kitty was, that $10 added up. And again, an ingenious way for this man to plant the seed in their mind. I'm going to get my rest. I'm going to get to my room and get my ass in bed and not be out after curfew. So there was a lesson learned there that they never forgot, and they took it with them as they went up the ladder to the big leagues.
That's a great story. I mean, who would have thought of that? I mean, look, this is one of those things where you're like, you know what? They use the elevator as the mold because, obviously, sure, here, I'll sign the ball for you. And you know what's probably cool is the elevator operator probably got to keep all those baseballs, too, after they've been logged.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did.
What a cool thing. And imagine having one of those baseballs from back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But the story behind the baseball, that is what we're after. Folks, where else would you get that? But here on the Sports Circus from our baseball guru now, of course, Zack Minasian's got a million stories, but that's one of my favorite ones. I love that one. And you know what? I'm going to take this episode and I'm going to put it in the vault and we're going to play it again randomly at some other time in the future. We won't tell you when. So in case you missed it, you'll have to just either go back to the archive or keep listening in because you're going to get great stories like this. Zack, that's one of my favorites. When we come back from break, I want you to tell the audience the best life lesson that you learned from Tommy Lasorda being around him. Because God knows you've learned a lot from him. And, of course, everybody that was in the environment as well. So there's so many stories and lessons here. Folks, this is great stuff. If you're not liking this one, turn the damn channel. I don't care because you're really missing out. By the way, Zack has an incredible background in baseball, and his sons have raised 4 great kids. They're all killing it in the real world. One of them, of course, is the GM for the Angels. And by the way, folks, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit on what's going on with that organization when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994. Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-308-2249. 800-308-2249. 800-308-2249. Call right now before it's too late. That's 800-308-2249.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcast, as well as all of our partners. And guess what? I think we're going to be adding another book on the partners page. And here to tell you about this really cool book is our very special baseball guru guest, Zack Minasian.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Sal, and promoting my book a little bit. As you can see, Lasorda University, a recollection of my summer of '68 with Tommy Lasorda and the Ogden Dodgers. Got a lot of terrific Lasorda stories, got a lot of terrific player stories. Interviewed a number of the players on that club, which all was very interesting. I chronicle that season and our quest for the Pioneer League championship that year. We had Bobby Valentine, Steve Garvey, Billy Buckner, Tom Paciorek, among others that ended up playing in the big league. So it's a fun, easy read. I would recommend it to kids, females, as well as baseball fans everywhere. It's a story about baseball, but also a story about life and lessons learned. So I would suggest it highly to your viewers, and check it out. It's available from Amazon.
Well, that's great stuff. That's great stuff, folks. And listen, it's a good read about good stories, and there are life lessons in there. And Zack, thanks for sharing that. And I know you've been around Tommy Lasorda for a long time. During his time, rest his soul.
Yeah.
What's the most significant standout lesson you've learned from Tommy Lasorda?
Well, I think he used to say you gotta believe a lot. He used that term quite a bit, and so I would say that in lesson learned would be to believe in yourself. That if you work hard enough, and you believe you can do it, and you believe you can succeed, then you will succeed. You'll achieve if you believe. So he said that a lot, and so I would say that was probably the most well-known lesson that he taught. But he taught so many. The other thing about Tommy was, if you knew him and you knew the background that he came from, and he was fighting in the streets of Philadelphia, a poor immigrant family with 4 brothers, his future didn't look that bright, but his will to succeed, and his will to believe, and his will to make it, especially a guy with limited talent, in terms of being an athlete and being a ball player. He was a good pitcher, but he never was major league caliber. But he didn't quit, and he hung around, and he persevered, so I would say that, the other lesson learned from Tommy, other than you've got to believe in yourself, would be to, have the will to be successful, to succeed in life and not let obstacles turn you out. Keep on plugging away. When he didn't make it as a player, he made it as a Hall of Fame manager. One of the players on the team, Bobby Valentine, really took a lot from that, because he was a great player and a great prospect, and he injured himself playing for Anaheim way back in the 70s and broke his leg and was never the same. But what did he learn from Tommy? Don't quit. You want to stay in this game, become a coach. Learn the game. Go from coaching to managing. And don't give up. The will to be successful is bred in you, and you just gotta let it come out. And that's exactly what Bobby did. He followed Tommy's lead. He couldn't play anymore at the major league level. He realized that. Tommy told me that one of the toughest things he ever had to do in life was to tell Bobby Valentine that he couldn't play anymore, that he wasn't up to playing at the big league level. It was the hardest thing Tommy had to do in terms of talking to a player, but he did it. And it came across clearly to Bobby. And he at that point changed direction and said, while I'm sitting on the bench as a reserve, I'm going to watch everything that goes on in the field, in the clubhouse, in the dugout. I'm going to learn this game from A to Z, and I'm going to try to become a field manager. And I'll be darned if that's what he didn't do. So, that was Tommy's influence, and I think those are the two greatest lessons learned. Don't quit, strive, persevere, and believe in yourself.
Well, look at this. Zack, out of all the lessons you learned, now, folks, this is the reason you want to pay attention to a guy like Zack and his lessons learned, because he's taken that, transferred it to his own family. And he has 4 very successful sons that have been benefactors of a great lesson or 2 or 10 or 100 from a guy like Tommy Lasorda and all his other life experience. Because you can take that and parlay it into the next one, and you can also tell other people about it, and they can learn from it. So it's infectious. So in today's time, they say, well, this video's gone viral. Well, this message will go viral too, right or wrong.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, my kids have grown up with Tommy, and they really took to heart all of his, people think that's a show, that he's some kind of a showman, and that's not legitimate stuff. But that was Tommy. That was his mantra. That's what he lived by, and that's what he taught. And he affected kids all over the world. Not only my 4, but he planted the seed for their love of the game. And as you say, they're all, even my son that's an attorney is still tied into the game. So his lessons learned, they don't go away. They stick with you.
Right. And on top of it, folks, look, it's been so impactful on Zack and his family. He even wrote a book about just a snapshot of that lesson, lifelong lesson, I should say, with Tommy Lasorda. And tell everybody about the book again.
Well, it's about the 68 Ogden Club and the players that were on it and Tommy's interaction with them. And, it's a lot about life and the things that he will tell these young men. And you have to understand that he wanted them to be the best they could be. And that's what he kept drumming into their heads. And that's what, in the end, came out for the rest of their lives. So that's what this book's all about. And again, an easy read and some stories about Tommy that, this was before he was the famous Tommy Lasorda. This was his first managerial job in the minor leagues. And you got to remember, my first year was 66. It was not 68. And I did 66, 67. 68 was my last year in Ogden. But in 66, I was a 14-year-old kid. I was living away from home. I stayed in a hotel. I had my own room. I was in Ogden, Utah. And Tommy Lasorda was my mentor and my leader and my Pied Piper all rolled into one.
You know what? What's interesting is, one of our dear friends on the sports circus has a million stories And I mean, great stories. He's a former Green Bay Packer. But the stories that he got from Vince Lombardi and George Halas and whatnot. I'm waiting for the book from the great Don Horn, Super Bowl II champion. Of course, Don, a very dear friend. But I think of Don's stories. Scores of stories just like your stories here in the last 2 minutes. So look, we could do this one for a very, very long time. But I can tell you what, we're going to bring you back and we're going to have you talk more about these stories. And I want to hear more about the book beyond this because, look, Zack, this is not just a one-off program for you and the family. I mean, we'd like to have the kids on too because they're a living testament of your experiences. Yes. And I tell you what, folks, these things seem to be a lost art in today's time. And it almost as if we're missing a big part of Americana, a big part of culture. And honestly, Zack, what you're doing is you're keeping the American dream, the real American dream alive because it's not necessarily money. It's about success. These are success stories, right or wrong.
Yes. Oh, absolutely true. Yeah. And to a 14, 15, 16-year-old, which was my period of time there, it was just so impactful. It's really hard to describe. One thing in the book, Sal, I'll say, is I describe like 3 or 4 of his clubhouse meetings, and they are unbelievable. I would read the book just to read about those 4 clubhouse meetings that he held and what that meant to those players and what the ultimate result of meetings like that were. So, again, I recommend the book to all your viewers. Get a hold of Amazon and get yourself a copy. Sal, thanks for having me.
Oh, that's great stuff. Hey, listen, we've got another minute or so. So, Zack, I notice you've got that A with the halo on for everybody watching, and that's for your boy Perry, I imagine, right?
Perry, yes. I got to support my boy Perry. He's having a rough go in Anaheim. They've got a young roster that he's trying to win with, and that's not always easy. He's had the face of baseball on the club, which a lot of times isn't easy. But he's a tough kid. He learned from me. He learned from Tommy what I learned, and he's going to hang in there, and he's going to bust his ass to do the best that he can do for that Angel organization. And I promise you, fans of the Angels, he's doing everything he can to turn him into a winner.
You know what? Perry's doing a good job. And honestly, in my opinion, the last 15 seconds of the show, I think the Angels did the right thing by not re-signing him because, in my opinion, the sideshow, the circus, whatever, has gone to the other side of town over in L.A. And, folks, if you think the Dodgers are going to win with this guy, they're not because you know why? The Dodgers can't pitch the baseball. They're going to win games 12-11. They're not going to win the 1-0, 2-1, 3-1 games, in my opinion. And I can tell you that because it's my show. That's going to do it for today's show. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. Big thanks for Zack Minasian showing up today. In fact, we'll give him the super applause. Yes! Very exciting. Make sure you check out that book, Lasorda University, as well. And we'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. That's 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.